Welcome to the Jalyna Rose Podcast. Welcome back to the Jalyna Rose Podcast. I'm Jalyna Rose, author of When It All Falls Down, available on Amazon Kindle, link in the description. Well, hello! It is Saturday, November 14th at the time of this recording, and today I'm going to ramble on about pen names, your pseudonym. Now bear with me here, sometimes this recorder cuts me off, it's cheap. Just bear with me and we will get through this, hopefully without too much disruption, but if it happens, it happens. So here we go. George Orwell, Dean Koontz, J.K. Rowling, these are just a few famous authors we know that use a pseudonym. So why do authors use pen names? Well, George Orwell used one because he thought his family would be embarrassed about his time in poverty. George Orwell was actually born Eric Arthur Blair, and according to the Orwell Foundation, the name George Orwell is a mix of the name of the reigning monarch King George VI and that of a local river. J.K. Rowling used a pen name because her publishers weren't sure that adolescent boys, which were the intended audience of Harry Potter, would want to read about wizards if it were written by a woman. So they asked her to put her initials on the cover. Because she didn't have a middle name, she borrowed her grandmother's, Kathleen. So there are a number of reasons why an author would use a pen name. Maybe they want to mask their gender, shift genres, hide the fact they work a 9 to 5. Maybe they want to establish credibility, etc. I'm going to talk about my reasons in a minute, but first I want to explain some reasons why it may be important to have a pen name in some of these cases. I'm going to read a bit of this article by Morse Law. They did an amazing job with this article, and I think it sums up everything I wanted to talk about nicely. A link to the article is in the description below if you would like to follow along with me or read it for yourself. There's a lot of good information in there, so I highly recommend it. To mask gender. In 1968, a new star burst upon the science fiction scene. James Tripchey Jr.'s stories were literate, brilliant, thought-provoking, but no one knew who he was or how he got to be so damn good. Speculations abounded, introducing a collection of Tripchey's fiction. Science fiction superstar Robert Silverberg praised Tripchey's writing and argued that one thing was clear from his distinctive voice: Tripchey was surely a man. Actually, as became known soon after, Tripchey was a former CIA intelligence agent and doctor of experimental psychology named Alice Sheldon. No stranger to disguise, Sheldon had decided to hide her gender within the male-dominated field of science fiction. Thus, one reason authors use pen names is to conceal the fact that they're writing in the wrong gender for their field. Authors sometimes use pen names to hide other personal traits, such as their age. Sometimes you're too young for the air of authority you need to adopt. Sometimes you're too old for the readers you're targeting. To shift genres. Historically, authors succeeding in one genre wouldn't risk their reputations or disappoint readers by publishing in different genres. Evan Hunter, born Salvatore Labino, was Evan Hunter when he wrote more serious works such as The Blackboard Jungle, and Ed McBain when he wrote police procedurals, including his 87th Precinct series. As the emphasis shifts from books, literature to authors, celebrities. However, this may be changing. In 2001, James Patterson, known for his Alex Cross mysteries, published Suzanne's Diaries for Nicholas, a romance, and John Grisham, revered for legal suspense, published the coming-of-age novel A Painted House, both in their own names. Now, I find this very interesting that some authors are using their real names to switch genres, and maybe times are changing with this, but I was always told that we can't do this because it would confuse the reader and ruin your reputation. And I don't know, maybe these authors are famous enough to get away with that. I find this to be most interesting, and I would like to know your thoughts about this. Do you think times are changing, or do you think these authors are just famous enough to get away with it? To unify identity. Sometimes people decide to use one name to produce a series that will have two or more authors. Ellery Queen was actually cousin Frederick Danny, and Manfred Lee. The Stratemeyer Syndicate invented many authors, including the Hardy Boys, Franklin W. Dixon, and Nancy Drew's Caroline Keeney, each of whom was really a group of writers. 5 decades after the Hardy Boys books appeared, Leslie McFarlane revealed himself as the first Franklin W. Dixon. Mildred Benson, a young journalist, was the original ghostwriter for the Nancy Drew mysteries. That is also really interesting because, who remembers reading the Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew? These books were a little bit before my time, but I've certainly heard of them. They have to be some of the most famous works alongside of, Sherlock Holmes and, anything by Agatha Christie. But all this time, I never knew that Nancy Drew was ghost-written. And now it's like a TV series, and, that's really cool. But interesting facts aside, this is where I'll stop reading this article. There is much more in the article, so do read it for yourself. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just think it's a good article, and now I'm going to talk about my reasons for choosing a pen name and how I came to discover mine. Disclaimer, don't be like me. You'll know why very soon. So, as you may have guessed, Jalyna Rose is not my real name. My real name is Jessica Taylor. Everyone knows this if you follow me on social media. If you don't follow me on social media, go follow me. My social links are at the bottom of the channel banner. Jalyna is a hybrid of my first and middle name, Jessica Lynn. I swapped the E for an A like in Blue Jay and added my middle name, Lynn. Rose is a name that this guy I was dating used to call me. He was from a different country and we used to Skype all the time. And he always said that I was like a rose, beautiful but with thorns. And I always liked the name Rose, so I eventually decided to keep it. I'm going to talk about why. So originally when I came out to the world with my pen name, people informed me that the name was too hard for them and I should just use my real name or initials. And I'm going to talk about why using my real name isn't an option. Simply put, there are so many Jessica Lynn Taylors out there, and many have already been published, and there is one person with my name who is a stripper, and I'm not going to talk about that on this channel, but the bottom line is I don't want people confusing me with all the other Jessica Lynn Taylors out there, and I don't want readers to confuse my work with someone else's. The reason I eventually decided to keep the name Jalyna Rose is because there is no one else that I could find on the internet with that name. that name is exclusively mine, as far as I know. And I did research all the names that I thought I was going to be using. But when that person told me, your name is too hard and you should just use your initials or real name, instead of thinking whatever, people will get used to it, I thought, okay, maybe that name doesn't work. So I ended up making this long list of names that I thought would be good pen names, and I tested them on the internet using my Facebook page, my Google Plus, this is back when Google Plus existed, and my book covers. I did this big experiment, and then Google kind of got mad at me, and Facebook kind of got mad at me, and it ended up being this big disaster. So don't be like me. This is not how you want to discover your pen name. But eventually, I got it all sorted out and ended up realizing that Jalyna Rose was in fact exclusively mine. And I recreated my Google account and became Jalyna Rose officially. And I ended up publishing under that name. My whole goal of having a pen name was never to hide my identity or mislead anyone. It was simply to individualize myself from everyone else and to have a name that was exclusively mine, which is why I do make it known on social media and everywhere else that I am Jalyna Rose. And honestly, I don't think my name is that hard to pronounce or spell. It's just J as in Blue Jay, or the short form of the name Jason, and Lynn as in Linda or Lynette. So it's J Lynn, and I just added an A to make na, as in na na na, like a song. And so it's J Lynn na. It's not hard, but I digress. Let's talk about how you should go about choosing your pen name. First, find a name that's available. I did this with a simple internet search. You can also check the U.S. Copyright Office records if you're a U.S. citizen. If not, maybe your country has something similar, so just ask around. Second, check the state you're in. Some U.S. states require persons doing business under assumed names to register. You may have to consult a lawyer or city clerk to find that out. You will also have to decide how to handle the copyright issues. You can find more information on that by doing an internet search, or there's some information in the article linked below. You may also decide how important it is to you to keep your true identity a secret. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to go out and tell the world about your pen name and put it on social media. And, that's the whole point of having a pen name for most people, is that it is secret. It keeps their true identity a secret. Whatever your reason for choosing a pen name, be sure to comply with all the laws, and be sure you are choosing a pen name for benevolent reasons, and that you are not doing so to do something criminal like cheat on your taxes, or breaching your contracts, or exploiting other people such as friends, family, other writers, or persons living or dead. You can be sued for doing so. And a pen name does not guarantee you immunity. People can and do eventually find out the pen names. It may take longer, but eventually they will find you out, and you do not want to go down that road. So make sure you are not getting into trouble doing anything malicious, and you should be good to go. Well, I'm out of time, so I'll end this right here. I hope this was helpful to you. There are lots of resources available, videos and whatnot out there that can help you choose your pen name legally and safely. So take your time with it, don't be like me, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like or dislike and subscribe before you go. Bye!